Ask the Mayor on KWVE on the Air, our Thursday program with Mayor Bob Morgan as we talk about city issues. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Doug, good morning. Yeah.
Dave,
Doug, which one? I had to look at Doug.
I'll put on a mask here. So.
Well, and you've been double duty for Doug today, or for Dave today, so, Yeah.
Gets a little confusing. It's like musical chairs, and there's only two people that do the chair switching here. So.
Anyway, good morning, Doug.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fine.
Kind of looks like we're in a mix of, it's spring officially, but kind of looks like the next few weeks might be a little back and forth. So
yes, I don't think it looks like it's a great outdoor weather weekend. Yeah. So I guess I still have indoor projects I haven't finished yet, so I'm okay.
Hopefully for street crews, they don't have to keep putting plows back on trucks or something like that. Yeah. But it's kind of a crapshoot this time of year as to what you're going to get. So.
It is. They know how to do it and they're prepared. But I think the way it looks, we're not probably going to be in that situation.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, and I didn't drive by there, but there's a street closing out by 33rd and Lincoln. That is the scene of some water work going on.
That is correct. We're working on water main there. As we prepare for the pavement project and 33rd and Lincoln, we want to make sure that all the infrastructure is in the ground. One of the things that you really don't want to do is put down new concrete and a year later pull it back up. So we're taking care of the water main situations out there. Our crews are doing that, and I think they hopefully will be done by Monday. I guess that's always weather permitting, as you mentioned earlier, but it really will help us as we continue to move forward and get to that project at 33rd and Lincoln.
One thing about water department crews, they work in some pretty adverse weather conditions, and it doesn't seem to bother them. I know it would bother me, but it gets pretty cold and icy sometimes.
It really, really does, and they do a yeoman's job of getting control of any types of breaks when it's below zero.
Yep. Anyway, if you're planning on motoring in the area of 33rd and Lincoln, you have to choose a different route today, or go.
You do for a couple days.
A couple days. So, one of the things that's coming up. Kind of in the not too distant future, but mid-April, or April 11th, Thursday, is an open house that the city is putting on what's called the Safe Streets for All Action Plan. That'll be at the public library. What all is this about? What are you trying to accomplish here?
Well, it takes an overall look of the city and takes a look at our streets. I know that some of the analysis that they look at is a number of years of data where there's been accidents, and there's been accidents based, and I believe, if I remember right, it's broken down by not only just traffic accidents, by accidents that have either serious injury or even possibly a death, to try to figure out where how to make our streets better. It's one of the forerunners for us to apply for another grant. So in order to apply for the grant, we have to have a Safe Streets for All action plan for the city. And at the end of the day, I think it'll be a good resource for the city to, ensure that we are in the right place on safe streets.
And something like this, when trying to put together a plan like this, is there a pedestrian or trail component to it at all, or is that kind of a separate matter?
No, it will definitely take a look at the pedestrian routes as well, to keep pedestrians safe. It is a committee that's working on it that's diverse. I believe we've got people from Beatrice Public Schools on there. I think Sergeant Carver from the police department's on there, and a couple other people from the community. So it is a community-based report that they're looking at, and I expect it to be a really good report when it's done. This is just a great opportunity for the public to come out and have a little input about what the committee's done and where the committee's headed. Beatrice Public Library from 4 to 6 p.m. on April 11th. And so I think it's a great opportunity to come out and take a look at some of the things you don't think about that goes into making our streets safe for all.
One of the things you hear about occasionally is kind of a simple thing, but people might say, why isn't there a stop sign or a yield sign at this intersection? I've seen accidents here, and, sometimes you get the feeling that a sign placement is an end-all, solve-all to something, but law enforcement officers will tell you sometimes lights or signs actually cause more accidents because you have stopping and starting all the time. But is that part of the whole thing? Do you look at intersections as to where you've seen more of the accidents or the traffic?
Absolutely. We'll take a look. They have it diagrammed out, studies of where the most serious accidents have been and the most frequent. And so those will be areas that people will certainly concentrate on.
Yeah. Of course, you have some high-traveled routes at Lincoln, Monroe, Dorsey,
Right.
Ella.
Yeah, 19th.
All those, yeah. So,
So yeah, they'll all be part of that analysis.
yeah. This is kind of one of those, there's not really a sit-down presentation. It's kind of a come and go type thing, isn't it?
That is correct. It's an open house from 4 to 6. Come and go as you can.
All right. Bob Morgan, Mayor of Beatrice, with us on Ask the Mayor this morning. We'll have more in a moment. You're listening to Ask the Mayor on KWBE today with Mayor Bob Morgan. One of the things at Monday night's council meeting was the first report that was given by your new director of the Beatrice Police Department, Lieutenant Jay Murphy. Kind of a bit of a challenging 2023 to overcome, what changes in leadership, and then also the staffing issues, which a lot of departments have been facing, trying to keep a full complement of officers on their staffs, and then facing competition from other nearby departments. A little bit of a tough year to make it through.
It was. We've made it through. I think Director Murphy pointed out that we're kind of getting to, hopefully with 2 more individuals that are in the interview process, we're coming to the end of, we'll have the police department fully staffed. I think that Director Murphy did a wonderful job with his report, pointing out a number of things that I wouldn't have even noticed or known, with especially when they talked about the number of 911 hangups.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting that, that had a lot to do with new technology. The watches that have your phone emails sent to you, and the Ring doorbells, which I think it sounds like they got it fixed, but it sounds like that was a number of our increases in our 911 hangups.
Yeah. And the thing about those, too, is you can't ignore them because you don't know if it's a real emergency. And, there was a question about swatting calls you've heard about. Police have to check a lot of things out that, and it gets to be maybe a little bit of a cry wolf situation, but you still have to send officers.
Absolutely. Yeah. The time you don't is a time that it's real.
Yeah.
And you just can't afford to be in that position.
From the report, anything set off any alarms in terms of types of crime or trends on maybe numbers or things, or was there anything that really stood out?
Not really. I mean, the biggest part was the additional 911 calls. I think that, I think it's been refreshing the way that Director Murphy and the rest of the police department kind of really banded together to get through 2023. I think one of the things that he noted, and I think it's worth noting again, is that they had a shortage of officers, and that's getting better. And then we had one officer I'll thank him for his service, Kelly Burns, who was on deployment. And so, you don't have an officer there for 9 months that is coming back, and he's back, and he served his country well, and we're glad to have him back. So when you think about it, that means there was a lot of overtime and additional duties that everyone had to step up to the plate to take to cover. And so it's really just reassuring and have a confidence in the police department to know that they cover themselves very, very well. They take their job very professionally, and they really take protecting the city at heart.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is you see a lot of relatively new faces among the road patrol officers, because you've lost some veterans to other departments and things like that. And, we think back to when we started a job, that first year or two, there's kind of a break-in period. There's kind of getting accustomed to the community you're working in, too.
Oh, absolutely. I think it takes you, whenever you change a job, it takes you a good year or two to really become up to speed. And so we have that. And the other thing that I think about is, it just kind of reminds me that, times are changing. Doesn't matter what profession it is. When you have 22 to 30-year-olds in that position, you and I might look at them and go, wow, how old are they?
I vaguely remember being that age back when.
But, they take their job seriously, and quite honestly, they have some knowledge that they can bring that is, in today's standards that you don't necessarily get with an older individual. So we're in a good spot.
Yeah. The thing I noticed, too, that even with new officers that may be only in their first year or two, the overall kind of characteristic of the department that they're good with members of the community and they take part in community projects. You're retaining that, even though you do see a lot of new members. It seems like that keeps going on, which is nice to see.
It is. I think if you look a lot of police departments, I don't know if you see the community involvement that our city has. And, you know, I think that's been deep-rooted in the system for a number of years that carries on, and it does show that community pride, and I think it makes everybody feel a little safer, but it also shows you how integrated they are into our community.
Yeah. Did want to ask you about last year when Chief John Hickman resigned, and then you went through the transition period and you named Jay Murphy as director of the department. I get asked occasionally, you know, why not stick with the chief of police position and call it a director? What's kind of the background on that? And is that something that might change in the future, or do you stick with the situation you have now?
Well, I think when Chief Hickman left, we were looking for, at first, you know, a structure that would really help the police department through that tough time. And if you look at Director Murphy, he's got a wealth of knowledge and experience with the police department. So we moved him to the director. That director has worked very, very well. And I think it's something that we will look at. At the end of the day, whether it's chief or whether it's director, he is the head of the police department, and he's doing a great job. And I think we're in a really good position with the structure that we have. It gave us a time to really take a look at, you know, I think at that same time we also added a sergeant. And so, you know, with Director Murphy's help, you know, he knows what's needed and what's not needed. So I think he kind of helped guide us into a structure where we're at today that I think is really a very good place to be. You know, will we go back to a chief? I don't know. We'll continue to watch. Right now we're in a really good spot, and I think we want to stay there.
Yeah. The overall level of, you know, crime, whether it's property crime or stolen vehicles or vandalism or break-ins, you know, you hear statistics nationally about how violent crime is down and has been. Sometimes, you know, you wonder how that can be because there's so much attention paid to a specific incident or something. But crime level in Beatrice, as you see it, are we in a pretty good spot at the moment? Or I'm sure there's always room for improvement in anything, but the overall, I guess, situation in Beatrice.
Overall, we're in a good spot, yes. I mean, you know, it ebbs and flows, and it will probably continue to do that. But I think we're in a good spot. I think, like I said, I think part of that is really due to the dedicated officers that we have.
One part of the presentation that kind of stood out for me, and it was a little surprising, but the number of crime victim contacts that went from, I think, 700 some to over 1,000. And I don't know if that's more of you just have a very active crime victims unit that is helping out, keeping people abreast of where their cases are at, or if that had anything to do with the number of incidents.
Well, I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know, I think we have a very good advocate in that position that really is doing a good job. And as Director Murphy said, it takes some pressure off of the police force as well, plus gives that support to the victim.
Yeah. Okay. One reappointment Monday night, and that was an important one. Bob Moran to the Board of Public Works. He served as chair now for, I'm trying to remember how many years. He took over. I think he took over for Dave Eskrid, didn't he?
Did.
When Dave moved up to the city council through elections.
So he's in his second year.
Yeah.
But he's not on his second year at the Board of Public Works.
Yeah, he's been there.
He's been there for a while, and he knows the Board of Public Works very, very well, and is, you know, the Board of Public Works, the whole board. I have been going to most of the meetings, and, as well as you, and, you know, I've really seen that there's a lot of good questions, and they're not shy about asking questions about projects and department head questions, and keeping a pretty good, I want to say, a pretty good oversight of the Board of Public Works. And with Bob as the chair, we're glad that he accepted the reappointment. And I think, again, we're very, very lucky to have a number of dedicated community members step up and be on that board.
You look at what they oversee, that's the Board of Public Works or Public Works Departments. That's a big enterprise in the overall budget of the city. In fact, you could say it is the big part of the city.
It really is. I mean, when you think about all the different departments that make up the Board of Public Works, it's a huge endeavor for the city. But if you think about it, it's one of those endeavors that we're very fortunate to have, because if you tried to outsource all of that, the cost to the constituents would be quite high. As I look at neighboring states that have different rates, and I'll pick on the electric company for a little bit, their rates are substantially lower than Iowa and Missouri, maybe Kansas. And so, at the end of the day, that helps you when you get your BPW statement.
Are you getting to see some of the evidence of that since the switch of wholesalers as to comparative cost to what, you used to pay to buy power, and then also what retail customers paid?
Right. No, we're seeing a very nice savings. We left NPPD, in about 2018 or 19?
Seems like that somewhere. It was a gradual shift out.
I think it was probably 2019. It took us 3 years to completely back out. We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to have a city administrator that understands power and the buying and the selling and those type of things. We got a great department head in Pat Feist. And so, yes, we have made some good financial headway and profits in running the electric company ourselves.
Okay. I noticed on Monday nights, it was on the consent agenda. I think you had a hail damage repair payment at Beatrice Fire Headquarters. How extensive was the damage there, and is it pretty much all wrapped up now in terms of the project? Or
we're getting close. Yeah. We're getting close. There was two things there. There was hail damage, and at the end of the day, when we were getting into the hail damage, we found a number of spots that, and I don't know the technical terms because I'm not a very good contractor, but there's clips or things up there that help hold the roofing down. They weren't done right, or they were missing. And there are things that just, you can check a building, but once it's covered, you don't see it. And so not only are we replacing and taking care of that, we worked with the contractor and the manufacturer or the people that installed that missed those to make sure we do it right this time. And again, that's the contractor stepped up to the plate, and then the hail damage stepped up to the plate. So it's one of those things we're going to get done. And you never want to say hail is a blessing, but in this case, it did help us find something that should have been done correctly the first time.
So on the things that weren't done correctly, is that a warranty coverage type thing?
It is.
How does that work? So it's not an additional, hey, we got to shell out this tax money to...
That is correct.
Because I'm sure you probably get that question, especially since you're still paying off the project.
Yep. And I think we had that question last week, as a matter of fact.
We'll probably have it next week. Or not next week, that's county, the week after,
right.
probably.
But yes, that was part of the warranty work. And so we're getting close.
All right. We'll be back to wrap up Ask the Mayor in just a moment with Mayor Bob Morgan here on KWBE. We have about 9 minutes left on our Ask the Mayor program today with Mayor Bob Morgan. One of the things also from Monday night, selection of a consulting firm to help with development of a master plan for a couple of the Beatrice Public School sites that will no longer be used once the new pre-K to elementary building opens up, and that is the Lincoln and Paddock Lane school sites. What all would the the master plan sort of include? What do you look for there?
Well, I think you look for utility extensions. I mean, first of all, the plan that will be developed and put on the board is how do you take the property around Lincoln and the property around Paddock Lane schools. I think that as you look across the city, we know we have a need for housing. I think, again, realtors will tell you there's very, very short on inventory, and sometimes it's very, very short on trying to find a place to build housing. So we think that Lincoln and Paddock Lane school sites are ideal for residential housing. And so JEO will come in, kind of show us how to lay out the streets, extend the utilities and those type of things so that we have a roadmap if we do indeed want to make those into residential settings. And then, I think if you go back to the Safe Streets of All, they'll figure out how you get in and out of those land, that new neighborhood. How does it work with the, busy roads versus non-busy roads to bring people. You don't really want to dump a lot of people onto a busy road. So how do you design those two particular parcels to build residential housing? And again, how it can be cohesive into the neighborhood. And so everything really flows well. And so, we decided to go ahead and take a look at that now. We probably won't get any of the schools. I think we would probably close somewhere around October, November, but we know we're getting them in the agreement that we have with Beatrice Public Schools. So we want to be in a position where we're planning ahead.
I was driving by the Paddock Lane area the other day, and you look at just that entire big block there. That's a lot of area that could be put to good use when you talk about the need for housing and various levels of it. That's a pretty large block there.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great place for residential housing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. The as far as I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you a question about the housing. Oh, one thing on recreational facilities, is that part of it too? Because I know you do have playgrounds and things like that and park areas, and there's quite a number of them. Some neighborhood parks in Beatrice, and of course the larger ones are Riverside and Chautauqua and Hannibal and then West Scott. But is that part of the overall?
It is. It is. We'll take a look to see if it makes sense to have, an area or a neighborhood park in each one of those locations.
Okay. In a way, dealing with these school sites once they're no longer used by the district, is it in some ways, I guess, similar to you had the old Beatrice Community Hospital at 10th and Arthur, 11th and Arthur in there, and you look at when that building came down, left quite a void, but now you look at it through varying methods, that's developed into quite a nice area.
It has. Yeah. It really, really has. I mean, there was a plan for that. And I think you'll see these areas develop as well. Might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
That one, I think, had a target market that and help from a developer that had a number of investment points, including the low-income housing project money. So I think that, though, it does show you how you can take a big space that is a hole in a neighborhood and fill it into something that looks very, very nice. I mean, those homes are nice. They really fit the neighborhood, and they really add to that neighborhood.
Well, housing is certainly one of the big workforce issues in Nebraska. You're not the only one facing it. You look at any community, and where there's the number of employees needed and what's available don't always match up.
No, they don't. And I think that, again, this just gives us another tool in our toolbox to help the city grow. Maybe not this year or next year, but in the years to come.
Yeah. One I think it's kind of a month-long event coming up here, April 1st. Well, actually, 2-month-long event coming up is Great American Cleanup, which Keep Beatrice Beautiful is involved in. I know it's on your Facebook page of the city as to try to get people to kind of look after their own areas and things. And as I understand, if you're a group of students or a club or something, you can sign up online to clean up an area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we follow that model of the highways that you see in the Adopt a Mile. And so we're blessed to have Keep Beatrice Beautiful going. The name escapes me. We have a new director.
And it escapes me too.
Ashley, I know her very well, so I'll catch heck here at the end of the program. But she's doing a very nice job.
Yeah.
Filling in to stepping into some big shoes.
Yeah. And if you're out, then you get to go out, pick up trash, you get some exercise too. So that's kind of nice.
Yes.
Nice time of year to just get out and do something outside.
Right.
Instead of be cooped up all the time. Just a reminder, coming up next Wednesday is the resumption of the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast on the 27th, Wednesday morning at 6. at Holiday Inn Express. Really had Councilman Gary Barnard really kind of took the ball on this to kind of get it restarted, spent some of his own money, as I understand, get the tickets ready and the place ready, and
he did.
You're back with the breakfast now.
We are. I think it's a great opportunity. I really do. And Gary has been an instrumental part. Ted Fairbanks helped Gary, and I think Terry Doyle did as well. So the three of them put together the mayor's prayer breakfast. I think one of the reasons, I think Gary felt like it was an important part of the community when it was there, and he wanted to bring it back around. I think one of the things that we just want to make clear is none of the city money goes into this. So it is one of those that it is. I think it's also a fundraiser for the new FFA club at the high school. And this year we had a little twist. We had, Trev Alberts as our speaker, and
you got kind of caught in the wash of all this thing going on.
As probably most people know, that Trev Alberts has moved on to Texas A&M, and I'll tell you that Gary worked really, really hard to find what I believe is an excellent replacement for Mr. Alberts. Dr. Gold, who is the chancellor at UNMC, is going to be our speaker. I know that Dr. Gold has been to our community a number of times and has worked. I've known him from the meetings that we've had at Southeast Community College on the Beatrice campus, and he is an excellent individual, and I think, did you not say he might be considered for an important position?
He's the primary candidate for the presidency at the University of Nebraska, which is another thing they're trying to fill. So maybe this will all work out just perfectly.
It just might work out. Dr. Gold will do a wonderful job.
Yeah.
He really will. He's a very, very bright, intelligent man that can share a lot of the details about our landmark institution.
Yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned Southeast Community College, and you knew him from that. One of your friends with the college is heading the retirement way, too, and that's Stu Ostertune, the public information and marketing person. You worked with Stu quite a bit.
I worked with Stu very, very well. He's a very good friend. I wish him well in retirement. I know that he had some goals about when he wanted to retire, and I know he's got a number of hobbies that he's gonna keep him very, very busy. So, and not to mention grandkids that will fill another bit of his time. I have to give him a hard time. He's probably not listening, but he's also a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Is he really? I
Yes,
didn't realize that. I interviewed him the other day. I should have asked him about that.
Yeah, I should have asked him about that.
Well, and he and our morning guy, Dave Needfelt, went to the same school, Northwest Missouri State, at about the same time. So Stu was saying to me, why don't you tell Dave I beat him to retirement here? So a little trading back and forth, the back from their old college days. But yeah, Stu's been very good to us too, as far as keeping media in touch with things that are going on. There's been a lot going on at the college, and I don't know how you track it all the time because there's been a lot of changes.
There has been a lot of changes, and I'm sure that demand on him wore him down to the point where he finally said, you know what, I just want to enjoy. I think it was woodworking and fishing and a number of other things.
Maybe pulling the golf clubs out of
That's
the
right.
closet. You never know. That's always a good thing.
That's always a good thing.
Yep. Mayor, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.